I go for refuge until enlightenment to the Buddha, the teaching, and the spiritual community. By the merit of translating the teachings, may I achieve Buddhahood in order to help all living beings. I go for refuge until enlightenment to the Buddha, the teaching, and the spiritual community. By the merit of the teachings, may I achieve Buddhahood in order to help all living beings. I go for refuge until enlightenment to the Buddha, the teaching, and the spiritual community. By the merit of the teachings, may I achieve Buddhahood in order to help all living beings.
Oh yeah. Oh, tatiri Sravasti. And it's a make one back. Can't bushita. And it kilo ma. Tunic is mala soba. Can do get this Somalia. Oh, Taringa, Kazutambu Yung Duce. And Tatayaka Dute, Amjiki. Mandona Chiches Yeshe. And do Thomas Sons. Oh, the Kenzukanga. Treatises, treatises. Kalakabuchum, Kondas. Teaches.
First, I'd like to. First, I would like to say to the assembled Sangha there, Ken Rinpoche, Venerable Thupten Chödrön, and all the other venerable bhikshunis and novice monks and nuns, and also I think there maybe is an ordained monk there, I'm not sure. But then, anyway, I'd like to say to you all, please excuse me, and I'm very sorry that you had to do all the preparations, and you're very much expecting me to come at a certain time on Thursday, and the very day before that, I had to follow the advice of the doctor and not travel.
Oh yeah. No, digging the Karsora. That's Jidanko, Ma Chide, Rotuna Yaburite, Inako, there's some Tingi Yabusoza, in the Tonema Geshe to the Zong and the Chenye to the Shed Sonza, Dilaga de Coche to Budua, Jeza Cote Yabuchon Sonse, Garrison and Ara Chida, Lumbandin Denalia, Zune Combachi Chatu, Tebe Lobjon Che, Rawa, Edilian and the Chushe Chonishira. Gave us some Buddha, Kechambure, Nanzukabuye, the Inakotare, Dromatune, the Tunji Abuye, Yeshe, I think Hanzut, and that in Druson, this was a cock Yeshe.
I would have liked to have been able to make the trip to your place, and because I very much admire that you have all the facilities there, and the practitioners and everybody there doing the practice of the Dharma. But one thing we have is we fortunately can, because of the resources that are available to us now, we can substitute for that and have I can explain the teachings to you. You can listen to them over the internet. So our purpose is really fulfilled by being able to do this.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
So then we'll begin the lesson.
Oh yeah, Yunde Renjimang Bitsong, Sarabishi also Darbeku, Sergin Dogjan Hada Michu, some den Hailan Chasa laws. Oh yeah. Yeah, Jum Dendegro, Sanji Jum Dendeg, the Casusungua. Tumna Tibachu Metricious, Diola. Dread on a charging missile, need it over Shana Pommed, Chinitemba Dembetor and Yoruse. Oh. The Injilam Rindi, the Due, showed the Chenkuchukojendua. Oh, yeah, she's no batar. Two was on Jechum then and Nam years, tumna tikba chuyi me tushis. Maranzi gyuliya, dungen jungji gyu, ane mege wala soba, di chuba neshin chene pa chuju yo ma re sungudo. Tikba ina ko, tivchin dukisha. Tumna tikba chuyi me tushis.
Tanda lona?
Yeah.
Our teacher, the Bhagavan Buddha, then said in Sutra that sages do not wash away sins with water. They do not clear away beings suffering with their hands. They do not transfer their own knowledge to others. They liberate by teaching the truth of reality. This is on page 73 of the great treatise.
Which volume?
Volume 1. So here it starts with sages, that is the Buddhas, do not wash away sins with water. Here the sins is referring to wrong, any kind of wrongdoing. And these are the cause of our suffering, so that sages do not wash away the cause of our suffering with water.
Oh yeah, tumnatik bachumis. Drohe dongye chagi mesela sarwa. Oh drohagi ya ne kekanda chile soba. Nge songi tungelo soba tesu kanga de. Ne chagi pa selne meba sotuye yo ma re sungura. Oh dongye kyuti pa meba sonne tini meba sogura mado. Sangye pa chagi selne tini meba soye yo ma re sungura.
They do not clear away beings suffering with their hands. Here, this is referring to the there's many kinds of suffering: birth, sickness, aging, and death. Rebirth in the lower realms or the miserable realms. These they can't simply clear away with their hands. But they do address the causes, clearing away the causes of suffering.
No, yeah. Need the talk by Shella put me this one. Sanje Jumde de to Juliaco, Niasungi Tungele Treve, Tava Yore, Niasungi Tungele Treve, Niamule Treva, Tarbe Tawalang, Tengi Tawa, Tamse Quebeco, Valasoba, Togbata, Bangbe Yode Kanga Yora. Yore the Tipa, Shella Peganesh Chalade, Nebeganesh Yata, Kiran Spa. The
next line then, they do not transfer their own knowledge to others, is transferring is simply like this, where you take the glass case and move it over there. And that's what they're talking about here. And here the knowledge is many different kinds of knowledge, of course. What did you say? Avoiding being reborn into the miserable realms. Then there's liberation, omniscience. These many kinds of knowledge that they can't somehow just simply move that into others, just transfer it over to others.
Oh yeah. Now not Thabkhe career resone chuni temba tembe yorse. Chö kona tini karse chö ki ne chungo ne de temba de pa sanje korange nyam sola nyam nyoche o tin de ne che gore se pa Thabkhe de chö she bal tene trol to gore sungwa.
The final line then says they liberate by teaching the truth of reality. So how is it that Buddhas liberate beings? It's by teaching the actual meaning of the Dharma, and then in that way others can put it into practice. And that's how they liberate beings.
Oh yeah. Oh, tindu kasora. Chuni temba tembe chorjus pena. Ngarazo ngeson nyawa yuda tendula soba. Ngeson la mekewa. Tendul hata mi kopa top de yona zero. Ene ngeson ki tungele troya ki tabdi sendi chikbu maimba choa meda ko samlutane. Ani shen la tsawa pa, lunga yusum jikone, so jibala soba shen la tsawa pa. Oh, de gyudi shen la tsawa di shen la tsawa pa, so jipa. Ani shen la so gyobala soba, gewe jawa jubala tene, delia teba che, dina shin samluta hakuwa che, dina shin nyamli cheba yina, ani nye songu tunga le tuwa che tukure ye songu tuwa. Chini temba tembe tuwa yorsa.
For instance, if we want to avoid being reborn into the three miserable realms, the hells, the hungry ghosts, and the animal realms, and to be instead reborn into the happy realms of the humans and deities, then we can. Then the Buddha taught certain methods to achieve that, and various methods include just like understanding that our life is impermanent, we're going to die, but there's and then we will take rebirth, and then also putting into practice different forms of avoiding harming others, and so then if we can then avoid harming others and do also what we can to be helpful to others, like harming means things like killing, and instead of killing, avoiding killing, and then also protecting life, then in that way then we can avoid being reborn into the miserable realms and have a fortunate rebirth.
Oh, dina shidwa. Dene rana rawa meba, dwa ritu tu pungbun dolin che goba, tiji che goba. Oh, dene tunge ji rangshin che dile tar gogiyo na. Oh, dene te gyu ngan zinda chagdan la soba nyamoba. Chagdan la soba nyamoba wange ne lesa ne. Oh, dene koali kigiyo de. No, dene chagdan pangbe gyu so de mida bada dame bala sobarwa. Dame ba kombala tene. Ane dame ba sange ma sung. Dene rangi toba che, samba che, nyamne chebe yena. Koye tungi le tuwa che to gure sung yora. Chingi temba tembe tuwa yibati.
Then the second way the Buddha teaches the Dharma then is if you have a, what do you say, intermediate level of aspiration to when you look at the at our situation of having to helplessly go under the power of other factors and to be reborn over and over again in samsara and cyclic existence and undergo various forms of suffering, then if you want to be liberated from that, and then the Buddha taught what the causes of that were, which is grasping at a self, and then based on that, all the various forms of affliction like attachment, hostility, and so forth. So then the Buddha taught the truth of impermanence, but in addition to that, more profoundly, the Buddha taught gave the teachings on selflessness. So then, if you can learn about selflessness, reflect on it, and then put it into practice, then you're able to overcome your afflictions, hostility, attachment, and so forth, and to what do you say? Overcome the karmic actions of the karma and the karmic actions that are motivated by those, and achieve liberation.
Oh yeah, 다디 기부 중어 내송기 동엘레 조르집에 탑. 에네 기분 정대 고해 동엘레 조르집에 탑디 나주 랍지 당보 이게 랍지 당보 니버 somba 시바득 시기도 와. 추합니다 봐서가 진대다 내지 고해 동엘레 조르 탑 시기거라. 어, 디시기어레스.
Then the Rabje Geba Barde.
Geba
Rabje
Dangbo Shide.
Dangbo Shide. So these goals of avoiding rebirth in miserable realms and having a fortunate rebirth, and then achieving liberation from samsara. These are taught in the first 4 chapters here, where it teaches about the misconceptions concerning pleasure and suffering and so forth, and
oh yeah, 다들 내가 소라 다들 집에 심지어 탐지에 된 주비에게 된 주토베 산지지 고반토베 쳐들어. 시제 집발레 줘. 녀모바데 시제 집발레 줘. 아니 탑시 돌고 연나야 뒤 탑데 아니 데 장주고 심지 심배고네. 심지어 탐지에 된 주통뱅이 산지지 고반토바샤 냠베 심지 심배고네 아니 동반일라서 봐. 공부할 때네 아니 시집기 동안 시제 집발을 줘도 요라 뒤저 집에 탑데 산지 랍지 디날 집에나 랍지 나바데 차주 셈 기수다들 시에도 이 조바데 기념 본슬라서 시에도 제가 조바트 바케베 바르도 아니 군주 템발레 템발람지 바시기도 어디인데 디제니 랍지 개바 메시드 동반이 시에요라 장주 셈 비셈베고네 동반이 공부를 해서 디 시제 집을 줘가지고 타브레도 디 가지고 랍지 때때 송고도 송바티라 저어서 기부 침복 시제 집을 줘가지고 타브레도.
Then chapters 5 through 8 treat the how to overcome, well, the afflictions, but in particular the what do you say, which are the afflictive obscurations, but in particular then it's treating how to overcome the cognitive obscurations. And so it starts then with, on chapter 5, with how to, it starts how to enter into the practice of the Bodhisattva by explaining how to develop the, what we call usually bodhicitta, but also the spirit of enlightenment, and so then you're setting out on how to reorient yourself from just thinking about oneself to thinking of all living beings, thinking of others, and to completely change your orientation and enter into the practices of the Bodhisattva, which imbue the meditation on emptiness and selflessness with the with this altruistic spirit of enlightenment, and in that way you make a aspiration then to reach Buddhahood for the sake of all living beings, and then that's the third level of goal, or for third level of practice, and then that completes the the three different levels of practice.
Oh yeah. That is conscious. Oh, the thing is that not is Karsura. Sanjay Chamden Sumbana Shirwa. Oh, Narazo, Nesongi Tungele Tare, Chedo, Lunga Yesum Jikone Shan Sawapa, So Chibala Soba Sawapa, Lunga Yesum Jikone Shangi, So Jobala Soba, Kewa Te, and Nesongi Tungele Tabre, Sanjay Sum, Chuden, Delangarazu Tabache, Titanda Hako Nene Chinugi, So Chibala Soba, Shanla Severus Cuba, Niri Messina Pungdache, So Jobala Soba, Shanla Pamba to Treaty to Ina. Oh, Tene, Sanjay Sumbanashi, and Narasung Yasung to Electro to Bioda, Tirejila.
So, in the first level of those three levels, we're aspiring to aspiring to the goal of having a fortunate rebirth, and so then we have to study study the Buddha's teachings on how to achieve this through not harming others, and then also in addition to not harming, to for instance, like not killing, then also to helping, like in that case would be saving life. So then in this way, then we can achieve our goal of being, reborn into having a fortunate rebirth.
Oh yeah, Tene. The Koya Dungele Treachedu Sanjay Subanashi Tap Karasumbersena, Chagdangi Shawandu Sone, any Lesana, Quakogi or the Chagdangi Shawandu Mendre, Chagdanka Nunuchia. The Zawa Chagdan Joseph Zawade, Mao Nyambanganzi, oh, Indutine, Dameva Togala Soba, oh, Tires on the thing, Metavada, Damevada, Chagdangi Ongi Lesana, Quako, Green by the Shivache. Sanjay Sumbanashi turn shit, Shini, Chinugi, Kang Yong Rang and Nubat, Nyamli Chabayina, and the Koytung literature to Wera.
Then at the intermediate level, where we want to be, what the Buddha explains at this level then is that the cause of our being reborn into samsara is principally the afflictions, and those afflictions can be thought of as primarily attachment and hostility. Sometimes hostility is translated as anger, and so then when you understand, then when you study the Buddha's teachings here, then you can understand that the basis for these two afflictions is really our grasping at a self. So then, when we enter into the teachings. We can study and learn the teachings on selflessness, and so when we then understand selflessness, then in that way we can reach a goal of liberation from this kind of helpless rebirth that we have to constantly take in samsara.
Oh yeah, then it I'm your mom, she's a jibber, Tamjel, trailne. No, and can say you and then couldn't get you. Sanjay Journey, and he changed to Trouble Sheba, or Sanjay Kovan towards Sheba Laya, and a cargo person, Dagbe Shanjibe, Janju Sembi Simbecone, and a tomb by a Congo or Resonwa, or Ranley Shankash or Sine, or Dear Simbecone, Shanji Tandone, Jimbatsutum Sabala Soba, or Tende Combalatene, no, take so the time of Tombani Comne, Janju Sembi Simbecone, or Tende Conguina, and a Sanjay Kova. Nyomo sampang bamaimba, sheje triba pane, kyonko se yende kunde yikibu, sanje koba togure yesu chusung yora. Telangara zu tabachene ti hako ache. O ti hako sone ti nanshingi rangi nubata tembe, ene nyamne richeku yora. O ti jene sanje koba togchida, nyomo bada sheje triba le trechi, tablan ru yora, tre sabi bakcha shag yorba.
Then, if we want to get rid of all the cognitive, the afflictive and cognitive obscurations, and achieve the goal of becoming a person who's completely eliminated all faults and has all good qualities, then we enter into the practices of meditating on emptiness and imbued with the altruistic spirit of enlightenment, and in this way then we're able to reorient ourselves from being just preoccupied with ourselves to being preoccupied with others, and then are able to attain this high state of a Buddha who is a person who has eliminated all faults and attained all good qualities. So then at this level, then we're studying and then reflecting and then putting into practice the teachings to achieve this, principally meditating on emptiness and imbued with the altruistic spirit of enlightenment. Then in that way we reach to this goal of if we don't reach that goal of becoming a Buddha, then what we're doing is setting a good inclination, maybe we could say, or propensity, latent propensities for achieving that goal.
Oh yeah, that and that go. Shenla chawa pangba the pemba tu harwa. Chawdang ki nyamu chung rutaya. Oh, tene takbe shenji be chanju sembi sembe kone. Meda wada, tungya wada, dame be tongba ni komba la soba. Oh, tene te ba na shi rangi chinyu kang nuki. Ane nyamsu langba yina. Ane nye songi tungya le chuar che tuku yore. Tarwa da tamze kimba topje ge. Ane sabi shaani nga rasu nyeru ro tuku yora. Oh, ti che kore songi tuwa. Sanji chom den dek dikas tingzi kebin dekar songi tuwa lamrin nal. Kechu kyang nik ten tuwa. Nye ne rabdu sangbi chö she kyang se. Nye dene rabdu sangbu ki chö she ba yina yas. Tö ki tö ne yangda ma che nas. Keranga tö ne, ane dina shi nyamli ma che ba yina songi yora. Tö ki nye ne rabdu sangbi chö she, tö ki ne yangda ma che. Neba mengi keba tokba tar chera. Neba chiba cherwa. Ane di amjil chino o kera men di sagurin sila. Ane men mangbu shida la, men di rangi masani. Mengi keba tokba si, men takda luni. Then the Cablia doctor Kurten Sigora, Mendi Masavi in Sigora, never meant Java Topa, the Konagiore, Amji Lavre, not Triag, Ne Triag, Me, Mambu Lavre, did this and did this, the Ganga Kolam, and the Gablicate, never did. Cochi Sagio Mare, Mendi Sagio Mare. What in you could not drive to Mare, Yama Nation take the Shera. Alice and the Konagis Travda Lavre. Me Java, me side oh, Kanga cage, mother, Kusagi Omara. No tea, Ranganel Pengi Mari. Chekas and Yena, Nation take mother, Jura country to Amara, Sungua. What is
So,
Lamsing to catch Janik in Ayoda, Lungdi.
Yeah. Then so there's a verse here where the Buddha said, I have oh, sorry, it's on page 61 of the great treatise.
Volume 1.
Volume 1, yes. We're always volume 1. I have explained this very good teaching. Yet, if you, having heard it, do not practice correctly, then just like a sick person holding on to a bag of medicine, your illness cannot be cured. So here the Buddha is enjoining us to put the teachings into practice. If you simply listen to them and study, that means study them and don't put them into practice, then the example is of a person who's sick. The doctor is saying, okay, here, you take this medicine and this is how you apply it, and gives all the instructions, but then the sick person just sort of hoists it onto his or her back and walks off and never takes the medicine. So that's the image here.
Oh yeah, long to young women church lamne dura. Oh, Sanje Sungudo, Sibe Sunguchi Lamse. Koak, Tungi Chuchi Lamgati Sungudo. Nene Kijanam Latens and Yarage, Nyamsula, Nyamsunyon, she counsel share it also. Tishinshik but Tembati is Sanje Lanka Carson, a rag in Yamu Yobati, she only love it, share the rest, or Tishinshik but Tembati. Kijanam de Chago so say, Tungele true. Similar Duran Drogo, you know, Tisha Nation, any Laglet and Yogutani, Niri Messin, and Tapsi or Sugoda. Oh, teach anything you are at. You might say, thank you, Mado.
You're the one you didn't do.
Tamarana,
or didn't Kali, Ray, no, Dumbo de Sit, young Carson.
Sibe so much Chelam. Siba Koake. Tungi Chuchi Lamgati Sigora.
So soon the Jube Lam,
Sibe Sungus Tungera. Sibe Sunguchi Mabaswag.
Okay. So then I don't have the exact quote ready to read here, but
where is it from?
It's in the first volume of the great treatise, and it's a Buddhist statement. He said, "I've taught you here the method of eliminating suffering, or suffering is really it's a different word. Eliminating the well, anyway, we'll say suffering."
And
so he's saying in the second line that I've shown this to you, the way to eliminate this suffering. It's my, then he says in the third line, it's my, what do you say, responsibility, maybe we could say, to as a Tathagata, to teach this to you, to show you the way.
당원에 징계대 계란을 나가면서 자고 그래서 냠내리 자고 그래서.
So, but it's up to you, in accordance with what you have learned, to put it into practice.
뭐 다들 뒤줄람네 아무도 남리치무 겨주 겨숨 난도가 제 겨주 겨숨 그 어디야.
The older way.
어디가 요라.
Right.
네 류진들다 제버자 식점 집에 지시자스는
Oh,
거. 네 어디야. 남ringi longji ora jero mo shenke diwa no tea digdoa ragdoa tea che chebala che sheko yesjara che chebala sheko teni che shebala che tego yesjara tene sheber chebe ko ba yanse tene shene karichigin basana tene sheber chebe ko ba ya jeba himbese 오 내가 날씨 제고도 내가 주방고도 개와 줍고도 섬니린 예진할 제들에서 하고 해주고라
네.
전에 시버 제베 고바야 제바인베스로 제바인베스라서
네, right.
퇴베 되라서 소소 퇴바 제제 가지 되나 퇴베 되려야 소소 네바다 빡베 강가도 남사 제투고 말데 소소 네바다 빡베 아니 냠내리 제고래서 거라 신선 전에 시버 제 가서래 퇴베 되나 네바다 뜸베 라글레리 네도 쳐오세 퇴베 되려야 소소 네바 요 라글레 도서 제데 내가 전부 해서 디면에 패닉해 고 말아 어디지 롱부터냐고
The next one is a citation from the not from scripture but from the great treatise itself, volume 1, where on page 61. Page 61, where it says, therefore, let's say, there's a statement here that says, think of earnest practice as what clears away the illness of the afflictions, end quote here. So then J. Rinpoche says, this refers to putting into practice the lessons that a teacher has imparted to you on what should be adopted and what should be cast aside. To do that, you need to know the lessons. This is for this you need study. So study is to acquire the knowledge of what should be adopted and what should be cast aside. And then the purpose of knowing them through study is to do them, to actually engage in adopting and casting aside. Therefore, and this is the important conclusion. Therefore, it is vital to put the meaning of what you have heard into practice as much as you are able, just according to your ability. According to your capacity.
Oh yeah. 나도 그런데 컨텐츠 키고도 쓰네로와. 심지어는 아니 예송기 동에를 떼어다. 그러와. 떼어져 있어도 제 탑카인 바란 게 시바체. 코에 동에를 떼지 탑카인 바란 게 시바체. 산지 고반 토지 탑카인 바디 랑게 시바체네. 아니 되나시 진료기 냠솔랑네. 산지지 고반 토바르자 냠베 굴룬 상보 장주초도 셈께네 심제 탐제기 된쭉 통계게 심제 탐제기 된 가령 원들 함에 고바 내래 타르바도 탐제키베 고반랑 그 통계게 나라 견권세 연대 군대게 기부실랑 주라쇼 대체동에 최퇴 삼로다 진료관의 냠솔랑게 대체도 최년게 인삼베 굴룬 장주기 셈지 셈베 거네 녀나 아니 택바침베 쳐다 소남 셈에 사기요라 오 딘데 꾸노세 담네 삼루타네니 셈바슈소
So now we should motivate ourselves with imbuing our motivation with the altruistic spirit of enlightenment, bodhicitta, to benefit all living beings and to liberate them from, and where you're liberating them from there's suffering, then whether it's through understanding how to avoid being reborn into the three miserable realms, or how to overcome attachment and hostility and to be liberated from cyclic existence, or to achieve the high state of a perfect Buddha. Then I think and to do that, then I will listen to and reflect on and put these teachings into practice.
Oh yeah, I'm the Rabji, the Kubadira, Rabji Kaba Yanje de Shesara, the Yanje de la Carsos, Tonsen, Yeni Juvenane, Kunzuk Tembala Tembelam Jiran Basheba, said in Rosare. Tandinema, Rabji Kubane, son de Ma, dear Manje de Tondam Tembala Tembe, any Lamjiran Badishe Yora, no Sheba Nichara, Tondam Temba Kaba Sheba, and the Rabdu Sheba Sambe Kovada. Language Tanzania sum chinduwa. No, that in a margin pahing as Yungiora, Tambutundum Temple, Gabriel Shebatelia, any that's subject Mabuchidua. Oh, teacher, Tandilia, oh, the Karsura. Neden using a chair, Karsura. Oh, Karsura. Neden Chudons Sidua. Neden Chudons, Cabasiora, some. Oh, teacher Nako, Rabji Tambu. Kebu de Carresana, no, any churton by Cabasores. Oh, the Major Rabjukuba Major, so by Cabas, the Lusons in the Wa. Oh, the Channel Digmares, so by Jabasana, Shanda Chiriba, the court server. She again, she gave a 6 Ungiora. No, dear to love in Dawajabake, didn't Digmares, Capanzegua. Oh, Carresana, the Tambudi. Kunzu Tembala Tembelam Jerembashet, and each and you send the Simbecone, Bongbani Geshe Chedo, Rabjikuba Manchete Yugores. Dikanga Lam Jerembachazan, Chitagi Ormado, did the church and did the Zebashet, so much Dembamares, the loving daughter wage, Goye Capanzegua, the Sholugachi Yore, Tati Rangato, you make us. Ragwe, Rana, Tilam de Maraneke Yomare.
Oh, the Dawa Drapagi.
Oh, Dawa Drapa, Goting.
Oh, yes.
Oh, the Nish left.
So we're going to start with chapter 9 here, where we've already gone through the chapters 1 through 8. Here, the outline by Gyaltsabche, if you happen to look on page 305, you'll notice that the beginning here, part 1 of chapters 1 through 8, are explaining the stages of the paths dependent on conventional truths. And then starting part 2 here of chapter 9, it's explaining the stages of the paths dependent on ultimate truths. That's on page 319 of the translation. So there is a reference in the beginning of the translation on page 61 to the view of a commentator named Venerable Dharmapala, who he set forth a certain view that is refuted here by Chandrakirti. And Chandrakirti, well, yeah.
Some Tani repair, some Matani Tagas love Shabbat Sigres.
Oh, right.
Teacher. Gender Ketik.
Then, so then, what Dharmapala has said is that that he has taken the title of the text is the Aryadeva's 400. 400 here, he says, well, he uses the word hundreds and says that the beginning, part 1 is the hundreds that are, what do you say, that explain that or set forth the teaching, okay, the Dharma, and then the chapters 9 and on, then the hundreds that are for disputation or simply refuting others' points of view. And Chandraketri says this is not the case. It's that these, what I think just Venerable Dharmapala was he was a very well-known commentator in the Yogacara tradition or the mind-only tradition. Then Chandrakirti refutes that and says that what is being taught here is all the stages of the path from for one who wants to become a Buddha, and so then it's starting from the very beginning all the way up through, and all of that is imbued with this. What do you say? No. Then he's saying that so you going from not harming others all the way up through imbuing all your activities with the altruistic spirit of enlightenment, so then he says Chandrakirti's commentary makes the point here. His commentary on the 400 says that statements regarding individual text systems by one who has taken them as separately defined textual systems are nonsense.
Could you say that again, Josh? It's just...
Well, I don't know. It's I don't know if you'll be able to get it. Statements regarding individual textual systems by one who has taken them as separately defined textual systems are nonsense.
These are.
No, these are.
Oh yeah. Oda tanda di keshan butwa. Sawa shirab la sokba tezu kapsuya. Shendakin dusu to su cheche ma ka ba chigora. Ane di kapsuya ko shirubakin dusu da rangone truba, tu rangone truba sero. O tezu su sheche ne ti ma rese dongbani shegora. Mo di induza ko tingsan mi mang butin de samgudwa. Takje che ne pa truba tileche tinde che de ko soba tanda mi shenda de pa kaye tanda re samgudwa. So soba kyaye tanda re sa. Nyamne che tanda ma re sam tinde same nyanga yora. O di induza di songa su yawo hako ku yora. Mo di chiruban de ba ko ya de ko rangone truba yin senge te su keba de samlo mambut an labge yora. 이제 랑원에 예배 교생 지시해요라. 어디 랑원에 예배 생계의 교생이 하고 저러가지고. 랑원에 예배 교생 뒤에 딘데 시해요레스. 다 이나가서 잖아. 딘데 말에 뒤 교생 죽으면 딘데레스 파시고요라. 이제는 그 저틀레지 삼로도 안에 신고에 시래디요라. 미션다 삼로 가르던 것도 예배 교생 가르도 딘데 삼로도 안에 파져 되겠고 너변에 주시에 된다를 삼로도 하기요라. 당분에 고쳐지지는 않더라 인시 답바대 된다 말와 내주시에 된다 삼부당이와라 나중에 네 파시에데 내주도 세부시에 시에 된다 뜻이요라 뒤리고 시엔데 니르시기도 진짜기만도 니르세나 뒤도가제 각바시에 쪼제가 말아 냠니제 내가데 신고요라 신고도 신다 가르시기도 어세 랑은에 예배 주선도 야보하고 제 안에 뒤내시 말에 then there is to say pa share ku yora ti ton da ndi ko share we samlutan ni share ku echero ko gyurba mi ki toya su ta ti ru re chane then de kale ke yo mara ko samlutan ni share ku du samu ma ta ku yora ti ton da mi ki samlutan ta da to say samlutan pa share su she ku yora ti ndo wa ti ni zu share ton da ya ko gyu ji ne to share ton da ya samlutan ki yor ma to chi ti pa jo di 가고 같은 가랑 저 삼티 삼요 말아. 띵한저 하고 보다. 티 하마고 나네 베절이야 제바치야티 시작 개첨부 말이. 당분에 꼼잡샤는 되그리세르스도. 당분에 꼼제 운중을 꼼면다다. 사 꼼면다들 산제고 꼼면들에는 되그라. 맞아지 메다동에 동담에 코알랑에 버주 딱베신집에 찬죽semre 삼로단 마도 깨고 말아. 깨는 되그라. 어디 인데 거기서 가바체바다 텔리아 가르소라 파르보 내야도 텔리치도 멤버데 디에코 야부신했던 달레레스 동반일에 소바 람지르 차장신했던 다 마시에요 얼마도 저거 쪼제바 말레스 디셰기도 그렇잖아 만도 제서
나
두두 제션도
나 this chapters 9 and so forth set and those thereafter set forth various non-Buddhist points of view on time and permanent functional things and so forth. These permanent time and so forth. These this same. It's similar in this way to how the Nagarjuna's fundamental treatise on the middle way, called Wisdom, that also sets forth these non-Buddhist ideas, and then sets about to refute them. There's a danger here of thinking that these are simply ways of refuting others' points of view. It's not for that, and then people and nowadays people just tend to think like that. Then and then they say to practice the Dharma is really to meditate on the inhalation and exhalation of the breath, or to practice deity yoga, these different kinds of practices that we have to meditate. We don't have to look at these kinds of texts on simply, what do you say, eliminating others' positions. But there's a certain, a reason that these are set forth. It's not just for eliminating others' points of view. It's not just for refuting others' points of view. It's for increasing. It gives us a chance of how to reflect in order to come to a correct understanding of emptiness. Emptiness is a topic that it's not an evident phenomena or obvious phenomena like the object of our senses. It's a slightly hidden phenomena, and therefore it takes a lot of thought. So what we're doing in these chapters and this approach of presenting non-Buddhist views is that non-Buddhists have taken put a lot of thought and taken a lot of energy and used a lot of intelligence to to set forth why things do exist from their own side and how things do exist intrinsically or inherently. And so then we're investigating and coming to understand the reasons that underlie this particular point of view. And then we can come to an understanding ourselves of the Buddhist position that things lack any kind of intrinsic existence or existence from their own side, and it's for increasing our understanding of this topic that is slightly hidden from our view.
This one. Oh yeah, that's it. Don't go danger. Menda chi yungudo ku yungudo tanda che me ta chik sheshe tanda tu ki menge ki ko she she ba yunguda den me bara ya ta log ba non jo she ji she da ba den log ba chin ji lo she ji she she ba yunguda ya tanda den ba she ba yunguda ro den to lo tanda de she den ya ka she taba lo le ha ko na de ba ma do nyamni che ke ko ma re she taba so che che ora taba 가셔 양 쯧바 쏘제 현다파 가고체 뒤장자리 마도 소수 냠솔라에 대든데 메고에 그시 메고에 쏘제 선배대 줘 용거라 쯧바 롤린스거라 야 쯧바 롤린 제시 쯧바 냠솔라에 쏘제 셰베대 줘 용거라
안다디 드랑가디
오데
제 드랑가디 what
야야
디그나
미치단 댄줄이야
in general we can say that treatises, just taking the whole field of treatises, whether Buddhist or non-Buddhist, that some of them have no real purpose. Dun meba, and then there's also there are treatises that just that explain something that's totally mistaken. And then there's those that are that means that's showing a incorrect meaning, and then there's those that are showing a correct meaning, and then so there's those three, and then there's a set of three where they're simply for Shiba did.
Dame tanglo dunda damba.
Dunda damba did
this one dunda. Tebal so cheba.
Oh, tebal is and the fourth one would then just be simply for study, okay, just for learning, those kinds of treatises. And then there are those that are they're primarily for disputation, just to refute others' positions, and then there are those that emphasize, put an emphasis on the importance of practice. That's the sixth category. And then there are those. The seventh category would be that they're just for misleading others. Could have just kind of they're written in such a style that they're sort of like encoded, right, to mislead others. There's also those that are explain the practice of, I guess we call it just making sacrifice, and so then it's taking life as an offering. You're killing sentient living beings, and it's an ancient practice, but nowadays various being not caring about other human life comes out of this kind of area of practice.
No, that don't go no better than somebody. Don't demba, don't die over Charo. No, don't never shake my resigora. Demeter turned there. And it trouble holy. Yamsly soche, Yamson soche. Tungebon. Round the shangy could Tungepa, the water top soche and Shechi resigora. Or she don't think they shechi somewhere, Tenchukanga. Diana, so comes out so young. Tobacan young chet with Yanke, Shange, and it's over here, the young chet to Sange. Tenny, may you say so in the Yesigra, Kansa Sosoge. Then Julia Tabachi to Zanko, Tobacan Yama to Yamlika Chemagonga. And it's over the Chegonet in the Yama to Yamli Chemagonga. Today, Kansa Sosoko, then she to Tobacan Yama to Menge. Or in the real cigar. She don't know better than somewhat in the rest. In a cancer so go to some time joke it in the see what you are. Did me on check who you are at that. Oh, yeah, did do much any man.
The ninth one then is treatises that are aimed at eliminating suffering. So then the Buddhist, amongst these nine, then the Buddhist ones are those that have meaning, those that are put forward for emphasizing practice, and those that eliminate suffering. And but if we think about it, it's certainly possible that there are others. There's so many different kinds of people. So certainly there are people who just, want to learn something just simply for the sake of learning. That would be, study, and then there are those who
This one.
And certainly there are those who just want to learn how to refute others' positions, and for that purpose they listen. So, but I'm pointing out these different Buddhist points of view so that you can understand what it is that how it is that we're undertaking. What is the purpose, I guess? What is the aim of this treatise, and what aims we're avoiding?
Oh, the Tangbut Gardos, Tang Chirkaba, Sigdo, Tagbe Tagba him, Gangobo Yimba, Rangune Truba, Yeshe, the Chitane Kapachera, and the Chirado Kabache, Tindru Kaba Mete, Tambut Sumdo, Tina Tambut Shagorda. Oh, Tambut Tangu Chirkaba, Lanis Tangu Chirkaba, Yeshe, Telelange kept the Pakabache, then Zenin Gudwa. Oh, Tagbe Mobo Tembatruba Chirka, what is that? Oh, that did you send government Altambo? That you don't deny my share there. Oh, Tembatruba, Rangune Truba, Rangshinji Truba, share to the wa. Oh, the Karel Sigi about the Tambunganzo, Semlichi Chaya Neagura, and the Rere Lamashan and Tigra. She the name of Rere Chiji Mesa Mado, Rere Geshe, Shake Marto. Dingazo, dying and Mobo condition under Roa. Oh, Delia Carsigorasana Rangune Mess, Mobo condition a co Judan Kangia, Soba Mambuchi son any Chikiakuyora. In the rain to the co charge of Mambuchi and Genshi Remado, Chachi Manga, Korajanga, Suchilito Megogan, Del Megogan, Koran Janja Yobachi Yomare. Chitili High Tendech Yoban and Ranguni Yobasigora. Then I to drink Chami Yobina. Do you rock what cheer Mavajaco? Call Chachi to cheer Mavaja. Korara, Dagbacha, Yoban and call Ranguni Yodera. Koranguni Yodere, Shanda Suchil, there's in Delco Yomara. Which is a co. in and you Manzulia. Mas of some Harazula Nanzi Yora. Naranguni to a years the Mawag, Lavete Kagi or the in and Harazula things but the Yora. So Manzu Carriorisina, Nasamsa, Rawach. Sopu Pasha, Sim Pasha, Swa Pasha, Dushi Pasha, Luda Sim, Tizu Pasha, Nangarangit and the Chi, some Gidwa. Ding is so good, ding is something this or there is some. Nangarangachi took some such to go. As a competitive Nangando, Nachi, so we are women and Dramidua, Kajutsuku do, Chirachiagodoa, Tainako, Samlinalia, Nangarang do some good. Narandu in it, Chirakang banana, Droshan, Dray Yomara, the Kambanana, Kuja Yomara, Chilabusan Chiaki Midua, Indico, Samlin today's door. Narangi use some Rangwine, Rangle Yoba. Rangune Yoba, Rangi Moyo Yoba, Jan Latos Demigo, Koran Chipusu Yotum Gerch, Rangi Moyo Yoba, Rangi Sani Jutuba, Dandamber Tua, Monet and Sani Ju, Dirida Serisco, Niesura, Dandamber Tuba. Oh, Tindeji, yes, Yora, Mama, the Shandakanga, Chiyogo, those Sani, Zuzu such a man, and me do some Yora. Now, thank you to do the Yoma Resigora. Dilating as you do, Yiduma, Tra, Ni, Zero Kanga, Na, Shen Se Kanga, Trasidico, Rangune Transimber, Susu Semda, Paju de Lega Chedan, Susu Semgisuni, Tani Traji to your mother. So Semgi Madana Trayomara. Sanjay that is a Traji Yomara. Yomar, Narazi Chixation to Chiungora. So Tradani the Churkarina. Korangi Rangune Yoba, Rangle Tuba. Shell Doshin tell me Tatanda. Digda. Oh, Tindichi, the Churkangal Yoma, Segura. Shandazu, Deuce in the Tasnachi Yokore. Shansnachi Yogore, Deuce in the Yogore. You don't want the Trada Neda, Wabo, Sebo, Wombo. Shin Kanga Rangone, Kokorangone, you go to some Gora. Till at then, ending on Zimbashu Chambiungora. Narayas and Nai, some Nacho Sero, Conzo Sero. Oh, the Yabudos are Rangone, so the same Gipatani, Mambuji Rurus, Mange Mambuji Rurus, and teaching races somebody, Haku Medua. Korangone, you was open, you don't know, Trada Nienda. Korang when they do some good work. Oh, Delia, Caxasiora. Tindejasiora and some shower. Any one of my mess which till Cogre Nishamoche. What did you do, Shana?
So if we look at the outline, we can see that this chapter is beginning the extensive, on page 319, we can see that it's explaining, extensively explaining ultimate truths, or ultimate truth. And then this particular chapter is a general refutation of true existence by refuting permanent functional phenomena. And so then there's a lot of different topics of the outline, but it's enough just to know that's divided into three different parts, where it's refuting permanent functional phenomena in general, refuting them individually, and then arguing the unsuitability of refuting true existence. So here, before we get started on this, it's a good idea to have some kind of idea about what is being refuted here. Okay, what is the object of negation? What is the object that's being refuted? And it's this idea of things and persons existing from their own side intrinsically. Okay, and that has other meanings, like ultimately, like it's something that existing ultimately would mean that there's something that you could find there. And so then all the realist positions actually feel that there is something that can be found there. And but here, from the point of view of this text, of the Prasangika viewpoint, there's nothing to be found. It's an aggregation of many causes and conditions, and all coming together. And there's nothing there to be found from the side of the object, and this also comes to be. Comes into the idea of a self. Okay, so what is being refuted here is that we have this. It's a very natural to us to feel that there's that there's a me here, there's a self here that doesn't need to depend on any other factors and is just has an existence on its own, and that's also. But this naturally comes to us. This kind of feeling that of me and I. These are when we talk about selflessness, then we're referring to that kind of feeling that we have about the self as existing on its own from its own side, and then so that then this is reflected in these positions of the non-Buddhists, where they feel there's time that exists from its own side. There's permanent functional things. These are things that exist from their own side intrinsically, and so then in addition to these positions, there's also in the amongst Buddhists, the realists, they also feel that there's something there that you can find, and it has to be that's defined. That's an illustration of the self, but in the Prasangika viewpoint, then there isn't, when you analyze, there isn't anything to be found, and but we can express it with terms and think about it in concepts, and then in that way it arises and exists as a dependent designation, or a dependent imputation. So the important thing to understand here is that the object that's being negated is this existence of persons and things from their own side, or me and objects, or I, or the I, and objects as existing from their own side.
Rangine meba se ti tilsigore sura. Kanshin go nam jishen la ragma lebe ngo rangshin tes. Te meba ne ta meba os. Te ni choji ta meba de kansa ta meba se yora. Chotam je ta ne rangune me se. Te san kashe sura. O kanshin go nam jishen la ragma lebe ngo meba te lela bore. Judan kien la ra leba te ha ko do ngan zo be. Shin do zo sa ta chuda. Te zo la ra leba te ha ko do sam de yora. Di rakpa le samgi yora. Di ko shen rak ma leba sede rak le chi chung mangbu yora. Rawaan sede rawaan ye chi chung mangbu yora. Shen rak ma leba sede shen gyudan kien la rak ma leba yeba tendur sigi yo mara. Shen rak ma leba shen dakshi am chashe. Ngoba kari ne chata cheba digri si lapso nga tangi tanya. Ngoba kandichi ne ko gyudan kien le ten mangbu le ten ni ake yora. Ko cha yora, kangbari ne cha mangbu yora. Chala kari na tuyi ne cha mangbu yora. Kangsa ina ko pumbu ngawa chengi ake yora. Cha ko chashe sam dakshi si yora. Chashe sam ko dakshi di miri se se taksa ki tangbu semle su chare chi yora. Tila gonda chi tongsa na o di miri sha sam. Tanda chi tong o di tare sha sam. Go tong na eni pa dagdwa. Go te tamarwa, go te mi marwa. Mane ko chashe kura mainge chi tongni eni tilia dires pa dagdwa. Tusa chashe da dakshi la mademba, dokchi la madeba. O tende juye ne rawa tu tuba sigora. Dakshi da chashe la madeba, dokchi la madeba. Dakshi la tene dokchi ki pa takpa la madeba che kurang chi tuyendo na tela rawa sigora. Mada gyudan kien le bhe bara rakpa tende marwa. O tilia ke kurang gane suya bata sigora. Dakshi la tuye megun, dokchi la tuye megun, kurang gane suya bata metagi lemba. Nga rangi yose aneshi. O tende jila kapsa sigora. O te jila ane ngansu mando sha.
Chandrakirti explains in one of his treatises that when we're talking about existence from its own side, it's that something is completely self-powered, we can say, or self-contained is another way of translating that, or sometimes we just think it translated simply as independent. That something that things exist, have their own discrete entities that exist on their own power, and so then when what this kind of object of negation is meaning is that you can't well, if we think about it, the persons and things are made up of various a great variety of parts and causes and conditions, just all these different parts and causes and conditions coming in between, and coming to aggregating, and then and then based upon that, which we call the basis of imputation or the basis of designation, we designate the word I or me, and each of those individual parts and causes and conditions are not the I or me itself, but in dependence upon or based upon these causes and conditions, we say, we label or designate I, and so some people say, oh, okay, that's easy, everything's causes and conditions. Trees come about through through different water and fertility of the soil and all these different things come together, and then they arise dependent upon that. Okay, so I got that, but it's really deeper than that. And when you understand this idea of things being made up of different causes, different parts and causes and condition, and then simply being imputed, being a dependent arising of that, and that being the basis of imputation, and the what do you say? The object designated, or you can say the designating terms and conditions so then it's from this viewpoint that things lack any kind of existence from their own side, or having any kind of independent or what do you say, or intrinsic existence or ultimate existence, that everything lacks that independent existence, and that's what Chandrakirti is trying to point out is what we're refuting here.
This one. We don't have my lotion. Oh, that tongue is circa. Tagba inge ngobu inge ene rangune trubashi or esena kipaka giora. Tingle tongue kakba tingle teacher. And it tells so lands kept kipaka, but it turns a sum doa. Oh, that tambung terva. That's why. Tambung teda rabjingama nam jes do rabji tambu kedix yora. Teda rabjingama nam je tekonani togbe tabji chu yose, tekonani. 동반이 랑원에 매바 똑베 탑기 추요에서 뒤셔내서 메다바 셰기요레 동해와 셰기요레 메다바 셰두사 랍지 당부 날 메다바 셰기요바 아니 니바 동해와 셰기요라 숨바 메상와서 텐데 셰기요라 시바타 메바세 마제치 유메바 텐데 셰기요바 근데 인도자고 주단 깰레 때네 깨바레스데 규진기 샹완을 때는 중국이어라. 규진기 샹완을 때는 중인데 코라랑을 수용해야지 요 말아. 과학계를 팽겨래. 미다바셔야 되게야. 댄진 레버리 좀 손자. 망부질 댄진 레는 중국도 라운 레버션은 댄진 레는 한국을 말아. 코랑 수통해야지 가요 요 말아. 니구랑을 내겨와지 요 말아. 규단계 망부 소네. 네 기로셔야 게 보여라. 어디데 미다바 직시에서래. 되게 랑은에 매발라 고알레를 팽기와래. 동해와 셔래. 레다 녀몸베 샤와자레서 소소데 단데 미치 때바데 레다 녀몸베 샤와자레서데 안가미 인섬 라와자네 두베지 가와요래. 레다 녀몸베 샤와도 쳔네 좁기요라. 풍불 가제 내마데 미치네 가제 데메데 레다 녀몸베 샤와전 되기요라. 안가미 인바데 랑운에 대해 랑완전 대해서 요마라. 어디데 메다바다 동해와다. 아니 코아데 신자 집에 유마이 바테서 셰두사 셈데 규데 당진다 진데 용하게 다음에 또 발로 내도 미로에 규디 파 삼바데 파 매서 쌍마셔네. 다음에 동반이 때나 땐 소조 차요 레스요라. 다들야 동반이 셰요 레스. 이셰요라. 규셰네 데코나니 유투지 템베 뉴론도 쳔네 디멘지스데 랍진 디멘지게 쓰요라. 뒤제 겨와단 지바단 덴베 랑신지 주베 닝부 중세자 매바 개버쳐베나. 디멘지게 뒤제 인친제 될이야. 규단께 망분 뒤네 개바 인친제 될이야. 개와랑원에 주바 용구 말에 지바랑원에 주바 용구 말에 어드네 대천베 뒤다 다들 소가 가야랑원에 주바 용구 말에 티셰요레스요라. 디멘지 뒤제 개와단 지바단 덴베 랑신지 주베 랑신지 주바스데 코랑 주바시고라 샤를 뜻은 될매고 같잖아. 랑신지 주바스. 랑신지 주베고 중세자 매바 개버쳐버긴 노스.
Now we'll begin the text. If you have the text, it's on page 203. And so we're starting with this general refutation of true existence. And it begins with refuting permanent functional phenomena in general. And there's a kind of a opening here by Thabkhe where he says, by cleansing the mind stream with the flowing water of means by which to understand suchness. The previous chapters have made it, that is the mind, a vessel fit for the nectar of suchness, or emptiness, really, suchness, or the nectar of reality. So here, when he's saying cleansing the mind stream with the flowing water of the means by which to understand suchness, he's referring to chapters, the initial 8 chapters, but in particular, there's the chapters in the beginning. The one on, the first one treats impermanence, the second one treats suffering. It's a contemplation through impermanence, and that because when we think about impermanence, then we're thinking about all these causes and conditions coming together and producing effects, and this constant state of flux. And then we're what this is doing is giving us some kind of a basis for thinking about how everything is a aggregation of many causes and conditions, parts, and so forth that are coming together, and so this is preparing our minds for an understanding of how things are, empty of having any kind of existence from their own side and their own right. So then the second chapter is similar in that, where in that way, where again we're thinking about suffering, and suffering here is that which we undergo based through or because of our afflictions and our former karma. So then, when we think about suffering, then it's clear that that we're not, this idea of independent or self-powered, that there's no independent self. And so then there's the other views of the other chapters about, clean, refuting, things being unclean, and then selflessness. These things lacking a self. These chapters then are referred to as being like flowing water that prepare the mind then for understanding emptiness. Then these remaining chapters, it goes on to say, will explain how products which arise and disintegrate do not have even the slightest essence of inherent existence or intrinsic existence from their own side. So the idea here is that when it says products which arise and disintegrate, is that their arising and their disintegrating do not happen intrinsically or don't happen from their own side or independently.
다 쇼르가 당부들이다. 탐전 제비 되게와 되나 따위 메인데 칠수도. 어디 가르치고 그래서나 직대나 라바 녜베던도 레란 베바 내시도. 직대나야 라저테네 미토소니 레가시에 되시고도. 제비던도 인게 코란 라저라에 된다려. 지기어레스 요르도 레가시고레스. 코란게 랑신 멤버다 코란게 랑신기 ene su lega cheva tende mare so kollaje de ko yesa ko delitene chiyore sigora ko rangshin ge member chagwa tar on dezo ganga chida nang ge ngobo tamje chigjan do kewa mebe china ge ngobo kandejina chi ngobo zishin na sela soba nang ge ngobo ene ta da tende yana chungni le soba teso sigora o shiba menso ngaba kechile so teso sigora tamje chigjan do kewa mebe este 그런 직장장지 수치를 떠진 될 매고게 그런 장장지 수 용해지 요 말했어요라. 직장시 뜻이요라. 근데 직장도 가만둬서 직장도 깨와 매배했어요라. 지르베 속바 코나 깨신세. 라면다게 지르베 속바하시지. 두개 망부 초네 거 깨는데 속바지야 깨그마도 로바지 매고게지 그런 직장자한테 요 말했어요라. 근데 Geshe 속바대야 펜즈 교단 레병업으로 내베 속바대야 나치 펜즈 교단 레병업으로 내내니 뉴레체지도 제제 용대고 요래서요라 그래서 교단 레병업으로 내베 레뷰던도 깨와 임베세 탐전 레뷰던도 깨와 임베세 내담마대야 탐전 레뷰 된 깨와서도 내치 성만 탐전 교단 레뷰던도 깨와 임베세요라 되나 따요 요마예세 tená takbám rāwāndó chūpa yuwa mīmbā tēshir sikōrā takbā sēdē gyurā mībē takbā lē kūgyō yore kāpri rāwāndó chūpa lē takbā kūgyō yore rāngshīngi chūpa, tēmbār chūpa tēsul kūgyō yore tená tāyō mīn tēshir rīsē kiwa yīmbē tená takbā tē rāngshīngi kiwa tānsi tē takbā tē rāngshīngi chūpa lē chādhuwa kiwa tā, tēmbār chūpa tā chēsū kī nyingbō takbā sī tē tēmbār chūpa lē kōchō yore Geshe 닝부 당스 뭐로 매바스 제스도 가그레스 배제는 온데레샤세 직장자 주주세 예비전에 제스라 강사대 가드레스 르디르베 속비 차셔르는 데르베 말에 아니 샘데르베 말에 초아르베 두시르베 틀리전니 요 말바 에다 장외네 요나 다 가드레스는 온데레스 찔르고 주세 요거라 근데 제주 단대전 주주세 매제 속바지 예비지 들려봐 따도 요나 아니 따여서요라 랑은에 매래 로요왕게요 똑배왕게요래 닥시왕게요래 덕지왕게요 버렌도라 야 제가 너는 그 라야요 말와 라야지요나 랑은에요 그래서 저거라 다 랑은에도 안 되려서 지지를 주고 주사라요라 어디서자 제수기 닝보다 뭐버로 여바 멤버 디시르세 랑신지 쪽에 뭐버로 여바 멤버 디시르 아니 투바 마도 지대에 어디 디바도 지라면
So the verse here 201 then begins all are produced for their effect, thus none are permanent. There are no Tathagatas other than subduers who know things as they are. Now to treat the first two lines it says that say all are produced for their effect, thus none are permanent. Here, the commentary says, in the world it is accepted that when a laborer works hard for his or her wage, it is for the result and not because it is in his or her nature to do so. So the idea is that that laborers do not just sort of naturally like to do the work. They're what's motivating them is to get the wage, to get the effect of their what the energy they're putting into whatever task it is. Then that's where the first line says all are produced for their effect. Similarly, all, so it's when it's talking all, it's referring to external functional phenomena or internal functional phenomena here. When it says external and internal functional phenomena, there's all objects, things are external to us. And then when we talk about what's within, we're talking about the self, or in particular then the 12 different branches of, or 12 different members of dependent arising, ignorance, compositional activity, consciousness, and so forth. These, all these things do not arise of their own accord. They're not whatever. This idea of they don't somehow exist from their own side. They didn't come into being independently, not depending on other, on an accumulation, an aggregation of many different factors, and this is stated in the idea that since they are produced solely through a multifarious aggregation of factors consisting of interrelated causes and effects, functional things are produced for their effects. They are a constant. They're a constant process of all these different things coming together and then producing effects, and the effects then producing, becoming causes and producing their effects and so forth. So they therefore are not permanent. When we say permanent here, permanent can be understood as not changing. That's one understanding. But here, the commentary says that they're not inherently produced or intrinsically produced from their own side, or another way of expressing that is that they're not truly existent. So they do not have an essence able to withstand analysis. Nor do they exist as things in and of themselves. Here, the self we think of as this entity that exists in and of itself, is self-contained and independent. And then, so when it's talking about unable to withstand analysis, it's just where we're subjecting, where we're looking for the self, or if you don't think of it as looking for me, if we express it by saying me or I, and we're looking for that, and then we can't find it within all the different components of our body and mind, and so then that's the, in that way then, that things as well as persons then can't withstand analysis.
오야 다니베디 어디라 토바마도 지대는 대신식과 유에만 있어도 와 어디 가서 그러서는 밀로베 구승투 토바단 덴베스기도 와 밀로바스도 그 상계상계다 람라 롬나 군게들 밀로바스거라 로바스도 상마제베 에네 장주 셈바다 테줄이야 로바스 로코거라 로베킨두세 밀로베킨두세 자 밀로베스다 빵바다 그냥 빵에다 연대 양수 현지 토비에 된다라 롭고요 말아. 자 밀로베 구순투 토바단 담바스리 꾸이 에네께 라 소초발라 소바겠다 꾸이 께 제메바 토바 송기께 주망올라 소바 참제 토바 라 투기께 녀모보다 시제집에 샹와든 로알라 소바 만조하셔지 토바 구숨 양닥바 된다. 토바단 담베세 토바세 지소라 좀 된데 냐지에서 좀 된데 찍부스기와라 냐직 그런 찍부 찍마도 메다바다 동반이시 차에 메다바다 동반이라서 봐 지다가 뭐 말루가 무슨도 투수 취어봐 셴메레서 와라 시제 내주 메다바로서 봐 차에 메다바 규단 깨를 때는 깨다 길로다 규진래 깨배왕기 메다바 인당일로 그래서 강가 차시 저와디 킹기요 말아 현다게 되네 될 때는 동반이라는 거네 동발로서 봐 디신식 벌레시 근데 대수 치다와신도 경경여바 말해서 그거라 투바마도 지댕에서 디신식 방가이메스 투바마도 뭐 지다를 내봐대 나시 아니 툭식 봐대 셴여바 말해서 디신식 봐서 들리 자줘라 뭐 지다를 내봐 내줄 지다려봐 대신도 아니 툭식 봐 캔봐 셴다요 말해서 들리 자줘라 뒤질라
The next two lines of that verse are, there are no Tathagatas other than subduers who know things as they are. The commentary then refers to subduers as those who have no more to learn. Everyone short of a Buddha are learners. They have more to learn, but Buddhas have no more to learn. So it's only these Buddhas, only these subduers that subduers sometimes is translated also as sages, because they have the abilities of perfect body, speech, and mind. Here, Buddhas are perfected, that their abilities of body, speech, and mind are perfect, and so they directly know impermanence, emptiness, and all things without exception as they are. There's nobody else that can understand the subtle changes of the of impermanence, of how things are in a constant state of flux, like a Buddha can. There's nobody else. And then also emptiness, and then the way everything is, the what do you say, status, or the ontological status of everything. And since there's nobody else who knows things the way a Buddha does, then there are no other Tathagatas, which means that nobody else can be called, sometimes translated as one who goes thus, but it's an epithet of a Buddha. There's no other perfect being other than Buddhas.
This yeah, don't do so. Yana Tembes, Kang Kiwi Chujene, Midaban Gagbe Chujen de Serva, Kang Chung Se Kiwi Tangijan, Tetamjan Gagbe Chujen Nose, Judan Kelly, Kitchen Jetelia, and a Keji Gagbe Chujen Resumbiora, Time Medavashegora. Kiwi Gengi Kashi, Kesaduza Teko, Kewa the Negma, Keji Kitchen in Junikeba, Geshe, Tamashiva and Resumbiora. Kiwi Gengi Kashi, She Tembena, Tembe. Kewanin jigbeton to him becher. Chiaki sona con jurache con jie don da res yorno. Oh, ko kewa de kesa de kewa ranche ne to yo marese. Tene jigbeton to him becher. Ngoni je neba metos. Rangshin ji trubache yo mare. Kyudan kele tene ke chenje tele. Kyudan kenge rama meba con jurache japan de Jurgin Jurguche, Kewa Yene, Kebache, Kegi Jendro Shaviora. Sta Kyudan Kenge Wange Kirus and Kyudenge Wange, Koya, Ranging One Kuyor Mado, Koranging Wene Yomara. Which is like Kyudan Kele and the Kebatelia, Rawan never Yoma Race Yorno. No, Tembe, Kewanin Jigbeton to him, only you never made those. Rangsing around with never Yomare. Judan King Rangun and Nesumar, near to Yomar, and Jurachen, what I call it.
So the commentary continues saying, Moreover, the teacher, that is the Buddha, said, quote, "Whatever is produced inevitably ceases, for aging and death are conditioned by birth." So here, what is being pointed out by the Buddha is that once something is produced, then it doesn't stay for an instant. It goes through a constant process of change where many causes and conditions are coming together and producing their effects, and the effects then become causes that produce further effects and so forth. And this is a constant process, and in that process also, just like with aging after birth, then we are always, because of being produced, then we're always subject to disintegration and eventually ceasing to exist. So thus, since production is for the sake of disintegration, nothing endures by way of its own entity. What is being pointed out here is then that once something is produced, it's always then it's always going to disintegrate and cease to exist. So then and it's all based upon an aggregation of many causes and conditions coming together and constantly going through change and never and the change is constant, and that everything never stays. We say it's in a state of flux. It never stays. So then, nothing endures by way of its own entity is saying that because things are dependent upon all this aggregation of causes and conditions, then nothing exists on its own and as its own entity, as what do you say, as somehow existing from its own side, or self-existing, or there's many different terms here, independent and intrinsically existing, inherently existing, that none of these are ultimately existing.
Tā kachī kī tākpa tā tīntrūṅ kōkpa nī rāngyū kī tēnzī kī kōkpa nī mī tē pā rēpar shē tē sikdwa. Ngō dāndi umā rāngyū pā tabu sikyo rā. Yāni tākpa tā āsidu tēmbā trūpa tā sikyo rā. Tēmbā trūpa tā, rāngu nē trūpa tā, tīntrūṅ kōyā tē sē. Yāni rāngyū kī tēnzī kī kōku rē sūngu tū sikyo rā, shē kī tū. Tē mī tē pā rēpar shē tē sē. 아니 다와자바가 시계변 제반을 샤샤서라 대야세 랑기 기타스는 가르쳐서는 수숨 랑위네 주바 촉주 지점 독접세 따양달이야 수숨 세셔라 촉주 지점 독접성부터 아니 랑위네 주베 따양다 지요나 오 아니 랑기 기타한다 쓰요라 수숨 랑위네 주바 따양다 랑기 기타한다 어디 고레세 동반이 주발라서 우마랑기 박시요라. 대개셔라. 대야 초제 누구다본 제외 어디 줄랍다. 그 당부. 네. 내려그래. 네. 가지기 있어야 돼.
So then
Kamashi.
Okay. So then if we finish up here, there's some refute permanence and true existence by virtue of autonomous reasons. Here, the unfeasibility of this is explained in Chandrakirti's commentary. Here, Chandrakirti's commentary is referring to the commentary on this 400 verses by Aryadeva. And when it says some refute permanence and true existence, here it's talking about the Shravaka, sorry, the Madhyagam, another, not the, yes, Svatantrika Madhyamika, I'm missing that word, Svatantrika Madhyamika, not the Prasangika Madhyamika, the two different divisions. So there's a division here known as the Svatantrika Madhyamikas, and they believe that there is a commonly appearing object, commonly appearing subject, sorry, that when you refute, you have to use a syllogism that has three parts. There's three parts to any syllogism, and then there are very good terms to what do you say? Translate these three different parts of a syllogism, but they don't come to mind right away for me. So. Yeah, right. So then you. The idea, though, is that there is a within these. Then there, when you say the subject, impermanent, is, and then you give the predicate, and then you give the reason. Okay, then that subject, whatever is the subject of your syllogism, then that is a commonly appearing subject to all. It has to be a commonly appeering subject.
Tempermete tendrimbe chirsero takwebe wandu tara. Teyan chojen nyugu tabun jeve ngusum semade semar son la se. Nyugu jeve sema tabu nyugu jeve ngusum semade semar son la se. Trubde shagbe tunawa meba yinde tenju amado ba nyugu range tseniji trubala semar son wan bela tenju ane te misiban de dos. Uma rangi ba menje uma atazo kanga ke nyugu ngusum do trumna nyugu tseme trupsona rangwine trube nyugu tsemala son res nyugu togo res nyugu le tsemar sona nyugu ngusum do tona rangwine trube nyugu di togo res o uma tengyu achibu ke nyugu to do rangwine trube nyugu di togo mare rangwine trube nyugu yo mare nyugu le tsema sona rangwine trube nyugu le Samason go Mares Givarese. Says Omar Rangi Badangma Tesoge, over condition Samason, Rangune Trubeng over the Samadogre. Thank you, as in Rangune Trubeng over your mare, Samadu to tell Samadogo Mares Givarese. Thank you, anything Missiban Devayinos. What about the Shen, Devashan?
So here, if you take a sprout is impermanent because of being a product, okay, if you make that kind of syllogism. It says here, there is no commonly appearing subject as a sprout posited by tenets in relation to which a direct, valid cognition perceiving it is valid. So that what the Svatantrika Madhyamika and the other Buddhist tenet systems, which are known as the realists, then these are what they're saying is that in order for there to be a direct, valid cognition, the object of the cognition has to exist from its own side. It has to have and be intrinsically existent from its own side. So then anybody involved in understanding this syllogism then has to accept that there is such a thing as a sprout that exists from its own side, but then the Prasangikas come along and say, what? There's nothing that exists from its own side. So they say, since all except Prasangikas assert that it is valid in relation to a sprout existing by way of its own character, is another way of expressing that. This idea of something that exists from its own side, you can say it's something that exists from its own character. Then the Svatantrika Madhyamika is saying that for a cognition to be valid, then you have this commonly appearing subject of a sprout that exists from its own side, and then Prasangikas, then the commentary concludes with saying, Prasangikas assert that this is impossible. There isn't such a thing as a sprout that exists from its own side. So then there's no commonly appearing subject. So then we'll stop there until the next session.
Do so.
No, do so.